Boo! Okay. So it's April 1st, and I had a whole bunch of stuff I thought of doing. I had an idea for a skit, but I realized that the Movie Maker app that I used to have on my computer, that I probably got from it being a Windows 7 version upgraded to Windows 10, that old computer had Windows Media Maker, which I could use for video editing. This new one does not. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do to edit videos, if I even choose to edit videos again in the future. Um, but I was going to do a little skit. I was going to do some clever editing and be funny. And instead, I went to Staples and I spent $100 on stuff. And then I spent all afternoon cleaning. I had cleaned a little bit last week, in order to try and make room for the HOTAS system, HOTAS, to play Elite Dangerous, and it just wasn't working. I could not find the room, and part of it was I found room on the desk eventually, but then it was actually too uncomfortable to play with my hands up like this. I need them like down, lower below the camera frame. I went back and watched the unboxing video, and because of the frame of the camera, I'm actually just like fiddling around down here, and it looks a little suggestive. I apologize for the one or two people out there that may have saw it. But yeah, I was planning on doing something funny today for April Fool's. It's the internet's holiday. I noticed World of Warcraft, Blizzard always does something really good for April 1st. I haven't actually read their patch notes, which are always glorious if you play the game and you enjoy it and you know what's up. The Final Fantasy 14 guys put together a great one. Final Fantasy 14 Go, or Gathering Online, which is a dig at both Pokemon Go and their own gathering system. Go check it out if you want to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so what did I spend $100 on at Staples? Well, I got like the 18th pair of headphones I've ever bought. I got a metal stand that raises the monitor up. Gives me a little bit of space underneath where I can put things that aren't terribly important. And actually means that my monitor is above the surround sound speakers on either side, which is nice. And I bought a USB microphone, and I'm going to use that to do streaming. And because I now have a USB microphone that will capture my voice while I'm streaming game audio, it means that I can. What does that mean? Well, the system I had before, I didn't have a system for. I got the Elgato and I didn't use it for my first stream. I used the PlayStation streaming service, which worked okay, but it has a very specific sort of UI to the image, which people watching the stream, it shrinks down the image even more than when they just have it on the stream. And if they want to talk during the stream, then that gives them precious less screen real estate. So it gets rid of that interface. It also means that I can stream games that normally don't allow themselves to be streamed over PlayStation Network, such as Gundam Breaker 3, which was actually the first game I really got into on my PlayStation 4. I bought it for Final Fantasy 15, played it for a couple weeks, didn't really get into it. I also played Horizon Zero Dawn, which I really like because I like Monster Hunter, and someone was like, hey, this is Monster Hunter, but it's also got giant robots in it. And I was like, it's perfect. The problem with that game, maybe I'll come back to it and play it more with more gumption, but that game came out 3 days before Breath of the Wild, which when it came out, I picked up and ran with. I played that game for like 2 months, loving every minute of it. And now, because of the sound system, I could actually play that game with the audio quality I have been waiting for. So that might be fun. That might be a good way to waste my time when I'm on my 2-month break. Or maybe I'll finally pick up Horizon Zero Dawn. Or maybe I'll just keep playing Elite Dangerous now that I've spent something like, let's see, $110 for the HOTAS, $30 for the piece of wood. This is a nice piece of wood, by the way. It's technically a laptop desk or a lap desk. It has 2 cushions underneath and then a space for a mouse. I don't use it for a mouse. And a space to put your laptop. And the idea is that you can sit in a chair in like a hotel lobby or in your living room, put your laptop on it. If your laptop tends to run warm, it won't make your legs warm or uncomfortable. And it's cushioned so that if, unlike just a regular laptop or a plank of wood, it doesn't mess up your circulation and give you pins and needles in your legs and feet. So it's really good for my situation because I can now put both the throttle and the stick of the HOTAS on that and hopefully play it the way it was intended to be played. But no, it wasn't all roses. I got up early this morning. My sister left very early in the day, which is why I'm back to the new digs, by the way. I meant to lead with that. I also probably haven't said that this is the vlog for April 1st. No, I said it was April 1st at the start. Well, you can tell it's a vlog. Anyway, whatever. I got up, saw my sister off. After she was gone, I started back up Elite Dangerous. I was playing with my gamepad. I was playing with my PS4 gamepad. Annoyingly, if you switch control input types, this is something that I think they should fix. If you control input types, it doesn't, it automatically changes to the default and subsequently deletes all of your changes if you made any custom changes. Unless there's some way to save profiles that I'm not aware of in that UI, and there might be. When I plugged in the gamepad, I lost everything that I had done to set up the X52, and then when I plugged the X52 back in, I'm sure I lost everything that I'd set up on the gamepad, and that's just frustrating. It just is. And I was actually in the middle of getting this all set up. I spent all afternoon reorganizing my desk, putting all the desk candy everywhere. I still don't have a place for everything. I don't know where I'm going to put a few of the figures that I had lying around. I might just end up putting them in storage. I have a storage room with a lot of bins and drawers and stuff. But I like to have some of my figures just handy to fiddle with. The whole reason I like Transformers is I transform them and then I transform them back. It's sort of like, I don't know if exactly like a Rubik's Cube, because a Rubik's Cube is something that you sort of think about and you are like, okay, what do I do now? Whereas a Transformer, it's just like, what's the next step? What's the next step? So once you actually have it sort of memorized, it becomes very fluid. It's a figure, it's a car, or a spaceship, or a plane, or a gun in at least a couple of cases, or a tape deck, whatever. But it's that sort of like, have the TV on, like I watch a lot of West Wing, and I'll sort of have the West Wing on, and I'll fiddle with this, and then I'll sort of move it around, pose it, maybe I'll sit it down, stare at it for a while, and then when I get bored again, I'll pick it back up and change it back. I can always tell which figures I really like if they're the ones I always gravitate back to. But speaking of gravitating back, I spent so much time cleaning that I didn't get to play as much this afternoon, which is funny because I played so much this morning. Oh, the other part of the story. I'll get back to that. But as I was getting my things set up, I remembered, oh crap, I have to do this, and I was going to have all these plans that I didn't do. And but I'm getting near 10 minutes now. I'm going to tell this story. Hopefully it won't take more than a minute. So I've been making most of my money in Elite Dangerous by trading, doing specifically missions where you either deliver a good to a specific place or the place you're at needs a good, so you have to go out somewhere, find it, you spend money to buy it, takes money to make money, and then you bring it back to the place where you got the mission from. Those are some of the most lucrative on paper, but you have to take into account what you're spending to get the material and how far you have to travel to get it. Thankfully, there's the Elite Dangerous Database, EDDB, dot some country where it's located, is a very handy site to get that sorted out. But here's the situation. One of the actually that's the station where I make my home is in a system that has a civil war happening in the background. There's a little bit of flavor to any of the missions that you're picking up because there are different NPCs that represent different governments. Each government can have a type, which is sort of like a character class for the actual organization or group. Some of them aren't even government. Some of them are straight corporate. So, for example, today I was doing missions for a group that was an anarchist group that wanted to eliminate all laws, or at least have the laws in place not apply to them because they live by their own code, and a dictatorship. Neither of which are necessarily the best people to support, but I need money. So, I thought I would be very clever and supply both sides. One side wanted non-lethal weapons. The other side wanted what was called reactive armor, which I assume is either like a personal force field or actual armor that reacts to something. That a friend of mine was like, it's overreactive armor. You get shot and it goes, ow! Anyway, I got greedy. And really, this was karma coming back to remind me that what I was doing was not morally acceptable. Supporting two sides in a conflict doesn't end the conflict. It only perpetuates it, making me richer. But that's basic, like, arms dealership 101. And that was basically, I wasn't the dealer necessarily, but I was the delivery man. So, I go to another station and I pick up both the reactive armor and the non-lethal weapons. Flying back, I get a message from the people, I can't even remember which side it was. They let me know, someone's looking for you. They heard about the delivery run and they're going to try and intercept you and steal your cargo. If you eliminate this person because they represent our opponents in this conflict, we'll give you a bonus. It was a big bonus. It was like, the mission itself was probably at least 150,000 credits and the bonus was 200,000. Or something like that. It might have only been 75,000. But here's what happened. I get this message while I'm in Super Cruise, which is, it's super light. It's outside relativistic space, but it's not like jumping from star system. It's going from the sun to individual planets in the system. It takes a minute or two to get to planets nearby and a couple of minutes to get to the farther away planets. So I get the message as I leave, jump right near the star. I reorient myself, aim myself at the station where I'm making the delivery. I get the message, I read the message, and then I throttle up to speed on my way. And less than a minute later, I get interdicted. Interdiction is when somebody forcibly pulls you out of Super Cruise, or at least tries to, so that they can attack you and steal your stuff, or just blow you up. And this guy, Carl Winterbottom, was just an NPC. I'm playing in a private group game, so it's not another human being. It's definitely not one of my friends. He shows up as part of the mission, and he says, vent your cargo or I'm going to melt you in about 10 seconds. He didn't give me 10. I deployed weapons and tried to get a beat on him, and he attacked almost immediately. And he blew me up. He just blew the shit out of me. So now I'm peeved because I was real close to the goal. Now I'm going to have to fly back to the planet where I bought the stuff, which is starting to run low on both of those supplies. Pick it up, come back again, and I had to buy a new ship. My ship was insured, so I didn't have to pay that much, but I had to buy a new ship. The first ship was called the Dashed Expectations. I made this the Dashed Expectations 2. And then as I was leaving, it blew that one up too. So now I've lost 2 ships to this jerk. And I'm up to Dashed Expectations 3. I changed the paint job because the pink obviously isn't doing me any favors. And I go, thankfully this time he shot me down at the spot, or it sent me to the spot where I could buy the stuff. So that was saving me a little bit of a trip. So I picked the stuff up. And I go back and he interdicts me a third time. But this time I managed to evade. And because the RNG spirits looked favorably upon me, I was offered a 200,000 credit bonus for completing on time. So I took the money and I ran. I avoided getting interdicted. I made the delivery, and I hope I never see Carl Winterbottom again. If I ever get another, well, I am going to get a new ship, and I'm going to name it End of Winter, because I'm going to deck it out in as many guns as I possibly can to make sure that jerk, if I ever see him again, I'm going to blow him into dust. But only do that in a video game, kids. Don't do that in real life. Don't do that to real people. You should only ever hurt fake people because they're not real. Life lesson from me. So, this has been Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.